Welcome to today's webinar. I'm glad you all joined us this morning. On today's webinar, we're going to walk through mobile CRM for salespeople. We may dive a little bit into the management side, but there isn't too much there that's different from what we'll be going over for salespeople. So this will be a good call. I'm hoping that our presentation tools will work well. I'm going to warn you, sometimes they're a little spotty. So hopefully I'll be able to share my screen and everything will work well for us here. So DealerSocket's mobile app is available for Apple and Android devices. If you just go to the App Store and download it, you should find it in there just by searching for DealerSocket. And it's a free download. Now the dealership does need to be subscribing to it. If you're a new dealership, it's already included in the contract. If you're an older dealership, your dealer may or may not have signed up for it. So let's go ahead and now share my screen, and let's get my phone up on the screen here so we can walk through some of the main tasks that you can do using DealerSocket's mobile app. So here's my phone, looking good. There we are. We'll bring it up to the second monitor. All right, hopefully you can all see this, and hopefully this will stay displaying for us throughout the presentation today. All right, so the very first time you come in, you actually won't come to this screen. This is after you've logged in. So let's even go all the way back and walk through that login process. So if I log out here, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in my username and my password. Now, since it's going to show what I type on here, I'm going to move my phone off the screen here for just a second as I type in my password. And then I'm going to bring my screen back up. There we are. So you're going to use the same username and password that you use for DealerSocket usually. And then once you have it typed in, you'll hit log in. And that's going to log in on this phone. Now, you'll notice sometimes it'll bring you back to that login page, even though you've already logged in once before. There's a lot of sensitive customer data within this app here. So rather than it being like your social media where you can just jump in and it keeps you logged in, you do have to re-authenticate a bit. Okay, so make sure that you do re-authenticate when you go in, because again, there's a lot of customer information in here. Now, even if it is asking you to log in, you will still get your notifications in the background. Okay, and then when you tap the notification, it'll cause you to log in. All right, so then once you're on the app, you're going to see a few main things on the screen. You have the customer search up top. This is going to be like the magnifying glass and contact dashboard. So if I want to search my whole database to try to find somebody, I click into that customer search and I can search by their name, their phone number, their email address, and it'll pull them up using that customer search. I have Quick Customer, which is my fastest and easiest way to just get someone in the system quickly. So this is maybe you're out on the lot or maybe you're away from the dealership, but you get approached by someone who's looking for a car. I can use Quick Customer to put them in really easily. Inventory allows me to search my current inventory as well as add a customer record, but starting at the inventory search. So we'll walk through that. Socket Talk is for chat. So if you're signed up for our chat service, you'll be able to message in between the dealership to other people here. And then my dashboard, which we'll look at, is where I can see my metrics for the day. So if I want to see how many phone calls I've made, if I want to see how many appointments I've set, how many new prospects I've put in, you'll be able to get to it through my dashboard. And then for managers, you'll also have access to Sales Dashboard, which will show you the dealership's metrics. Down along the bottom, we have the kind of the task section. This little 15 here will allow me to see my to-dos for the day. This icon with the little person will allow me to see a list of my customers. Then this will be my notifications. And at any point, if I want to get back to this main screen, I'm going to look for the home button. So let's walk through a few scenarios of the common things you're going to need to do within mobile CRM. So first, let's say I want to look up a customer that I know is already in the system. I'm going to come up to the customer search, and I'm just going to tap into that box. Then I'm going to go ahead and type in the customer's name, phone number, or email address. So I have a customer in here named George Wells. Excuse me, it's John Wells. Got my examples mixed up in this one. So we'll put in John Wells, hit search. So it's going to find anybody with John Wells on the record. So as you can see, we have a few in here. We have a few potential duplicates. Maybe it's just a common name. I also have a business here where John Wells is listed as the primary contact. So I can scroll through, find the one I'm looking for. In our example, it's this one here. So once I'm ready, I just tap on it, and that will bring me into John Wells's record. Now, if you're familiar with the CRM, this is where I can see all of my contact details. It's kind of like that contact card when I first get into Contact Dashboard. And as I scroll down, I can see all the information we have for him. So here you can see we've linked him via social media here, so I can see a couple recent tweets. If we had hooked up his Facebook, I could see what his Facebook profile looked like. And then I can see here that we have some phone numbers for him, but he's currently on the do not call list, so I really shouldn't be calling him. I see I have an email address for him, I have an address. Now at the very, very bottom, I have special notes here. So now at this point you may be asking yourself, there should be more here, right? Where are my sales events? So within DealerSocket, each customer has a contact card like this, and then attached to that contact card are the individual opportunities that you have to follow up with that customer. We call those opportunities sales events. Those sales events are normally stored on tabs along the bottom of the CRM screen. To get to them from the mobile app, I'm going to come up to this menu button. I would get familiar with this button. Anytime that you're looking for something that's not here, you're like, hey, I want to see all the to-dos, or I want to be able to edit this customer, or I want to be able to push this to the DMS. Typically, that's going to be found within this More Options button. So when I tap on the button, you can see here I have the options to edit the contact or view the sales events. So if I tap View Sales Events, this will bring me in and show me all of the events that are currently associated with this customer. So here I can easily browse through and see any of the sold history, see any lost deals from the past, as well as any deals that are currently in progress. Then if I need to create a new one, I would click on the green plus, or excuse me, not the green plus, I'm used to saying that within the desktop. I'll click on this plus sign in the top right here, and that will allow me to add a new opportunity for this customer. All right, so that's if I'm searching for a customer that's already in the system. Let's walk through as though I'm putting in someone who's brand new from scratch. So first I'm going to come and tap on the home button down in the bottom left to get back to this screen. Then I'll come to Quick Customer. Quick Customer is a very simplified version of Contact Dashboard. So if you're new to DealerSocket and you log into Contact Dashboard, it may be a little intimidating because there are a lot of different fields and boxes and things to fill out. Within mobile CRM, it's stripped down to just the bare essentials. So all I need to do is fill out all the information on the screen, which as you can see is not that much. So let's put in a new customer. Let's say that our customer's name is Henry Jackson. So I'll just come up to my first name field and type in Henry. Then the last name I'll put in Jackson. Next I'll move down and put in the contact details. As always, we want to try to get as many points of contact as we can, because if this customer doesn't buy today, I want to have more ways of getting in touch with them later. So let's say I get a mobile phone for him, and I'm going to put in just a fake one here. And then let's say we get his email address. So I'm going to put in my email address here. I'll show you why in just a minute. All right, if I happen to know that one of these forms of contact is preferred, I can tap on it here on the right, and the little radio button will fill in, letting me know that that's his preferred way of being contacted. If I want to fill out his address, I just tap into this address section. It takes me to a detail page. I fill it out, hit done in the top right, and then I'll have his address saved in the system. Let's say I don't get that at this point. Then I move on to the sales opportunity itself. So I have these check boxes that help me indicate how far along we got in the deal. So let's say this customer made it to the store and they went on a test drive. So I'll just tap into the demo checkbox, and you'll see that it backfills the other boxes for me. Next, I'll select the source. This customer just walked into the dealership, so I'm going to leave him as a fresh up. However, if I were putting in a phone opportunity, I would come in here and make sure to select phone up. But for our example, I'm going to switch it back to fresh up. Most of the time, if you're with them with the app here, you're going to be putting it in as a fresh up, but make sure you take the time to think about it, because if you miscategorize phone ups, it can mess with your reports and your follow-up processes. Next is the vehicle. So from the vehicle section, I can search my inventory. So this is the search criteria I can put in. Be aware that you don't need to put anything into this screen. If I were to just hit this magnifying glass in the top right here, it's going to search all my inventory without any limiters in it. So this will return every vehicle that we currently have. I can scroll through them if I'd like, and I can hit the little arrows in the top right here to sort based on these fields. So if I'm looking for a specific model, I'll sort by model, and now it'll be ordered by model, so starting with my Rams and then my 4Runners and so forth. So if I find the vehicle he's looking for, let's say it's this used BMW, I can just tap on it, and it'll bring that in now to this vehicle detail. Now perhaps I want to view more details on this car than just this summary is giving me. I can come down here to the View Vehicle button. This will bring me into kind of a mobile e-brochure for this car. So this is for you to use, so I can get a little more detail as a salesperson on the car, but I can also use this as a presentation tool for the customer. So if I'm in here and I want to look at all the pictures of this car, this is one that's pulled in from an inventory feed, which you may have set up as well at your site. I can just tap on that photo, turn my phone sideways, and I can flip through pictures of this car with the customer. So maybe it's rainy outside, they don't want to go out and look at it quite yet. You can show them some pictures right from here. So we'll have any of your own images that you have set up with us, as well as any stock images if we have any for that specific year and make and model. All right, so then once I'm done, I can just tap back into my viewing pane. It'll give me my back arrow again. So I can come back into my vehicle page here. So if they're happy with that car, that's the winner. I'm going to hit back one more time. And now I can hit save in the top right, saying this is the vehicle that they want. All right, this next box here is for adding the trade, and this is one of those fun little time-saving features. I hate keying in VIN numbers. I always get it wrong, even when I have a full keyboard on my computer. It's a lot of digits to type in. So if I need to add a trade from my mobile, I can just tap into this trade section, and then from here I have this little icon, this barcode icon. Now I left it up on my desk. I usually have a little printout of a barcode that I use for these examples. We'll just pretend I have one. So if I tap on the barcode, it's going to turn my phone into a VIN scanner. So here I just line up the red line with the VIN sitting in the door jamb or wherever it may be in the car. And then as soon as it picks it up, it's going to pull it into DealerSocket and decode it for me. And if I need to go to a 2D format, so maybe it's a GM vehicle, I can just tap that barcode format up top there, and now I can search for a square VIN barcode. And again, as soon as it picks it up, it'll pull it into DealerSocket. It'll decode that VIN for me with the year, make, and model of the car. Now if I don't have the VIN ready to go, I can just tap in through year, make, model, and add it this way. So we'll just put in a fake trade here for our example. Let's say it's an Audi. You see it walks me through each of the fields. It's an A8. Say it's a 3-liter. Perfect. Now at this point, if I get any additional information, such as the payoff, I could put it in here, or the mileage. I'll go ahead and put in that this car has 35,000 miles on it. Nice low mileage car there. And then once I have all the details, I hit save in the top right. So that'll bring that back in, and it's going to give me a second line item in case they have more trades. So I can add up to 3 trades, just one at a time. After I've added the previous one, a new line will appear down below here. And then last is the work note. It's really important that we get notes on all of our deals. As you've probably heard your managers talk to you about, they need to make sure that they know exactly where you left off. Because let's say that the customer doesn't come back right away. It's your day off, and unannounced, they just walk in the door. We want to make sure that whoever's there at the dealership that day has enough detail they can finish off that deal. And if you've forgotten to put in notes, they kind of have to go back to the beginning and start over. So for me as a salesperson, I want to make sure I put in good notes to kind of cover myself, to make sure that even if I'm gone and that customer comes back in, they can close the deal, I can get my commission. So I'll come into my work notes here, and I could tap it in if I like typing on these little touch screens, which I personally don't. Or we can use a nice little built-in phone feature here and do a little dictation. So you see that little microphone? You'll have that on both iOS and Android devices. They've got pretty good dictation devices nowadays. So I can just tap on that and talk in whatever I want my note to be. Customer is looking for something with leather seats and a sunroof. So there we are. There's my note without me having to key all that in. So some of you, I'm sure, will love that feature. Even me, and I'm kind of a techno junkie. I would much rather talk it into the phone rather than have to type it out on that tiny little keyboard. So at this point, we took a couple minutes on it, but as you can see, it's a pretty fast process. It's something I've even heard dealers doing on the test drive when they're in the passenger seat with the customer. So once I have all the information in, I hit save in the top right. Now when I do this, you're going to notice something. There are other customers in my database with this email address. That's why I put that in there. So it's going to throw up another screen here that says, hey, this is a potential duplicate. And I want to walk you through what to do when you see this. All right, so here you can see it says duplicate up at the top. And if I scroll down through my options here, it's really showing me everybody who has that email address. And in this little test site, as you can see, we have quite a few. So what I want to do is I want to look through all of my options. I want to see if this customer is already in the system. Maybe he says he's never been here before, but there's still a good chance that he's an internet lead. He's never been here, but someone at the dealership has been working with this customer for weeks to try to get him in. And you know it causes frustration when we've already got someone working with them. We start all the way back at the beginning. Now we have 2 deals. BDC is getting mad at you because you're stealing their deal and they're not getting credit for it. So make sure you do take the time to look through. Make sure they're not already in the system. Now, after looking through all your examples, and for your live sites, I doubt it would be this many, you'll come all the way down to the bottom, and if it is totally a different customer, you can hit this Ignore Duplicates and Save New Customer. Then I'll come up to the top right, hit the Save button, and that's going to allow me to save that customer record, even though it thinks it could be a duplicate. All right, now I'm in. I've saved the sales event into the system. I can even go to the desktop version right now and search it, and it's already there. This syncs live. So as soon as it's saved here, it's going to be saved in the desktop version. It'll be on the desk log for managers to see if you've put it in the right status, and you're good to go. All right, so that's adding a customer. Again, really simple. You'll just go to Quick Customer at the very front screen here, type in the information, hit Save. Next, let's look at the inventory search. Maybe I want to start just looking to see if we have any cars in inventory. So we've already seen a similar screen to this one. This is where I can put in any of my search criteria here. I can put as much or as little in here as I'd like. So if I want to look up all my inventory, I just hit the magnifying glass in the top right without typing anything in, and here's all my inventory. Or if I want to go a little bit slower and put a little more qualifying information in, I could say I want to look for any new, and let's say Toyotas that we have in inventory. So I'll come in, select Toyota. And now when I hit search, it's going to search just new Toyotas. So here they all are. I can tap into any of these, which will take me to that little mini e-brochure that we looked at earlier, which will load up any pictures that we have, any stock images we have. Now here's the nice thing. If I go up to this little More Options button in the top right, this will give me the option to do a quick customer. So maybe I started here. Someone is just talking to me. Maybe I'm at the grocery store and a family friend walks up and says, hey, do you guys have any RAV4s in inventory? I say, well, let me check. And you look and you find it. And then they want you to follow up with them. I could come to this point, tap Quick Customer. This will bring me back to that Quick Customer page, except it's already going to have that vehicle selected. So then I finish filling everything else out, save it, and they're already in the system ready to go. All right. So next, I'll come back to my home screen. And now we've walked through how to search for a customer, how to add a new customer, and how to search your inventory. All right, now you'll see up at the top of your screen there's this toolbar. And if you come over to the right, there's a Q&A button. Feel free to send me questions. I see a couple that have come through. I'll most likely answer a lot of these questions as I'm going along. So if I don't answer your question right away, don't worry. I know they're there. And I'll make sure that I answer those either as I go along or at the very end. I'll get back to those. Someone did ask a question, am I the only one on this webinar? No, you're not. You can't see the other participants, but we have several dozen people on this webinar. So next, let's skip over to now some of the follow-up items. Then we'll come back and walk through some of these other tiles on the screen, such as Socket Talk and My Dashboard. So let's say I now want to switch gears here and do my follow-up for the day. So where do I find my to-dos? How do I know who I'm supposed to be calling? I can find all of my to-dos by tapping on this icon down here, this 15. We call this My Day. This is really the same thing as your to-do list in Employee Dashboard. So when I tap into My Day, it's going to give me all of the follow-up items that I should get completed. It's going to break them down based on what type of to-do it is. So that way I can focus on a specific task, pound them all out, and then move on. All right, so here if I come into outbound call, I can see all my outbound calls I need to make. So I have 5 calls I need to make. So let's start with this as an example. How do we follow up when we're supposed to make a phone call? So first I come in and I find the customer I need to call. So let's use Rosario here. When I tap on Rosario's name, it'll bring me into the to-do screen. From the to-do screen, I can see the customer's name, who I need to contact, their vehicle, work notes, and who the to-do is assigned to, and then the to-do details. What's the status of it? What's the comment on it? So this looks like it's one of my regular campaign phone calls. It's the day 21 phone call. Up top here, I have my action buttons, and it'll be lit up with orange if I have the sufficient contact information to make that form of contact. So this icon here is for the outbound call. If I have a phone number on the record, this will be lit up in orange. If I don't have a phone number on the record, this will be grayed out like these other two. This one is for Socket Talk, so if I want to text the customer, I'd be able to tap on that if I had a mobile phone number on the record. And if they had an email address, I would be able to tap on this envelope icon and send them an email. So in this example, it's an outbound call to do, so I'm going to go ahead and call the customer. It's nice and convenient from the mobile app because when I tap on that phone, it'll allow me to select any of that customer's phone numbers. I don't need to key in all those 10 digits of that number. So I know I'm ready to make the call. I hit work, and it'll let me make that call to the customer. Now it's important when you're calling your customer that you call them from within the app. Because if you don't call them within the app, if you just go to your recent contacts on your phone and call them, you won't get credit for it. I'm going to decline this phone call here. So here within the app, if I want to make the call, I just hit call. My screen will stop sharing because when I'm in a phone call, the little sharing app I use won't work. But I'm going to make this call. Now I'm going to let this go for a certain amount of time. For you to get credit for making a phone call, you usually have to meet a certain time requirement. So each of your stores is going to have a different minimum requirement. The default's 45 seconds. So if your call is 45 seconds long, it'll give you credit for it. If it's less than that, it may not give you credit for it. So now let me show my screen. Here's what happened. I limited it on this example so you wouldn't have to wait 45 seconds. I brought it down to 10 seconds. So here, as you can see, it says your call of 21 seconds was successfully logged. Now if I had been too short, if it had been maybe 5 seconds, it would say your call of 5 seconds was not logged because it was too short. When I hit OK, you'll notice a couple things have now happened. It's come in and it's updated my status here to completed. So if I'm sitting on an outbound call to do and I make the call, it's going to complete it automatically for me. It's not going to do that same thing though for a web lead to do or an appointment to do. It's only going to complete an outbound call to do automatically. The other thing it'll do for me is if I go into my work notes, oh, missed the wrong one there. If I go into the work notes, it's going to put a little note in here saying, I made this call at this date for this long from mobile CRM. So then managers can see and make sure that you made your phone calls. And that's also a good way for you to show that, hey, this is my customer. If you work at a dealership where skating is a concern, it's kind of a worry, you know, right? How do I prove that this is my customer? This is a really good fail-safe way of doing it. Say, hey, I've called this guy every day for the last week. This is obviously my customer. Check the notes. All right? So now at this point, I've completed my phone call. If I want to move on, I can just move on from here. However, I do suggest that anytime we touch a customer record, we do take the time to come in and add some of our own work notes. In addition to just showing that we made the phone call, I want to tell DealerSocket what happened on the phone call. So I'll return to my work notes. I'll tap into the new note section. I'm going to talk in my note. Spoke with Rosario, set an appointment for Tuesday at 2 o'clock. If I hit done, I was probably going to grab that last little bit I said if I hit done. There we go. I'm just going to delete that out. All right, so I set an appointment. There I have it in the notes. And I'll hit save. Next, I'm going to come back to my to-do itself, and I'm going to put in that appointment that we just created. So to do that, you'll notice I don't have a button right on the screen. It's not popping up in my face. So where do I go? How do I do something that's not on the screen? I'm going to come to my More Options button in the top right. From here, you can see Set Appointment. So I'll hit Set Appointment. So now I can say that he's coming in. It'll be later today, like I had mentioned, at 2 o'clock p.m. And I'll put in a little comment here. He's coming in for a test drive. Once I'm done, I hit save. And now I've both completed the phone call and gotten credit for completing it. I've added a note saying what happened on the phone call, and I've put an appointment in the system so that I can get credit for having set that appointment. Now that I'm done typing that in, I'm good. I'm done. I'm going to call it good. All right. Now, if I want to move on to my next to-do, I have two ways of doing it. I could just hit the back arrow, which would bring me back to my list of all customers, or I could have just swiped back and forth. This is in the most recent update of it. So if you don't have this functionality, make sure you go to the App Store and you tell it to update. But if I've got a list of 4 to-dos, like you'll see I have here, to-do 1 of 4, I can just swipe to the right, and now I'm looking at my next to-do. And I swipe to the right, and I'm to my next one. So I can easily jump back and forth between all my to-dos and get them all completed.